Sleepy town settling for the night, where every lawn is tailored just right, and it's about time that the back porch light comes on. At that house down the street, at that house on Magnolia Street.
Okay, I think we're ready to get down to business here.
Let's get down to business. I'm Kristina.
I'm Justina. Welcome to Magnolia Street.
Your one and only musically inspired practical magic fandom podcast.
Every week we deep dive on different aspects of the movie and the books. And if you've been listening from the very beginning, you guys would know that we, the Stinas, have written many practical magic inspired original songs that every so often we share with you via these Song-i-Sodes. And we actually started this podcast as a way for Kristina and I to showcase some of this awesome music we've been writing that will help keep you immersed in the world of the Owens family in a more musical way, if that's your thing.
That's right. And if you guys have been keeping up with our musical journey, you've been able to see all of the amazing things we've been able to manifest as a result of this podcast.
Yes, and this past summer, we were able to connect with Plaid Dog Recording, which is a studio up in Boston that specializes in helping small artists just like us raise the funds to record professional radio-ready songs.
Yeah, once we decided that we wanted to work with them, things really went relatively quickly, right? In September, we went up to Boston to record our first single, which is Magnolia Street, and within a very short week of getting that final mix back, we had launched our crowdfunding campaign, which ran through the end of October 2023.
Yes, the single most stressful month of our lives, right? Well, month of our lives, and this past week, the most stressful week of our lives.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But I would say it was worth it because you guys helped us raise $11,000 to get back into the studio to record 4 more songs. So we just wanted to send you all our deepest gratitude for helping us do that.
Thank you. Most definitely. And speaking of, this episode actually comes off the heels of our most recent return to Plaid Dog Recording to finish recording those 4 songs. And we are planning on doing a Boston return bonus episode to recap the rest of the recording process. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, so with that being said, let's talk about more music, since this is in fact a song-i-sode. But before we dive into this episode and the song, we just want to let you know that we have created a Spotify playlist with just our song-i-sodes, so check that out in our show notes if you would like to go down the rabbit hole of our original music and all the behind the scenes and writing process that goes into all of those. And if you're into all of our music stuff, you can find all the bonuses for these episodes on our $8 Rose tier over on our Patreon. And that tier is where we post our demos from these song-i-sodes, as well as lyric sheets, guitar chords if you want to play along, as well as any other bonuses that go along with today's song and all our other songs that we've done song-i-sodes for to date.
Yeah. Today, we bring you the song-i-sode number 8 for our practical magic inspired original song titled Blood Oath. If you've been listening in the past couple weeks, we actually did a 2-part series all about blood oaths and blood magic. And in those episodes, we discussed the scene in the film where Gillian is going to run away with this boy in the middle of the night. And Sally is just kind of bummed that she's losing her sister.
Yeah. Gillian then promises Sally that, quote, they're gonna grow old together, they're gonna end up these 2 old biddies with all these cats, and she bets they'll even die in the same day. And Sally asks her if she swears. And to prove it, Gillian requests her boyfriend's crusty, rusty pocket knife.
Crusty, rusty.
And seals her promise to her sister in a blood oath, hence the title of today's song of the day. And this very scene was the basis and inspiration behind today's original song, so let's just get into it. Let's go back to the beginning. I want to say that this was probably one of the first songs that you had sent to me as an idea for this project. After you had texted me that random like February day in 2022, you asked me if I wanted to write some practical magic inspired music, and obviously I had excitedly obliged. You had started to send me a couple ideas that you already had in the works. And the first one was that idea revolving around the roses. And then you sent me this one titled, I don't even think it had a title at the time. I don't even remember. I think
It was something else
Yeah.
originally, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but it turned into this.
Right, yeah. So you sent the roses via like a Google Doc or Google Drive, and I think this one was actually untitled when you first sent it to me. So let's just listen to Blood Oath right now in its most original form. I know, you're cringing. Listen, a lot of our old demos are cringe, but like it's so amazing to see like how far they come from that initial seed of an idea to like like where it,
Sure.
eventually ends up.
I'm just blown away that you
Yeah.
have archived every fucking thing.
I don't
It's
think
amazing.
you have to, right? Because well, this needs to go down in the history books.
Yes.
So let's just listen to that demo that you initially sent me that kickstarted everything. So here we go.
Her shadow passes somewhere beneath my window, down the back lane, in the haze of fireful nights. Da 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 da, da 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 da, da 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 da, da 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 da. Lean out, lean out, lean out, just a little farther now. That's the only way. That's the only way to see her. This is her day to break away. How do you tell her that you need her?
So
No recollection.
you don't remember that at all?
I remember the original one,
Yeah.
but I don't remember me putting in like this is her day to break away. I know I wrote it down because I included like the handwritten song lyrics in our notes.
Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I loved where that was going. I saw so much potential in it that like I really did love it. There were only like some minor things that I changed about it, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And obviously filling in the gaps because it was an idea, but I think you were stuck on some things that I was like, yeah, I can for sure help you out with this one. And
Yeah.
yeah. So after listening to that, I wanted to let you kick this one off because this idea had started in your brain. So I wanted to hear your thought process and how you started it.
Yeah. And I know we've spoken in our Song-i-Sodes about repurposing music. And even in the Michael Nyman episode as well, sometimes you have these beautiful little nuggets of inspiration that don't always fit initially. And whether that's initially into the melody or the structure or even in the time of your life at the moment, like you don't have all of those little pieces. And sometimes those like 2 lines of incomplete thought that you can't get out of your mind just need to be written down and like stored away for later, right? We've done that with other songs too.
Right.
And this was the case for what Blood Oath was prior to this project. So the initial song was called Crackling or Cracklin'. And I'll tell you the lyrics in a second. I think that's the rhythm and the story, what it was initially. But when I was in high school, here's where the story kind of came from. And I just loved this idea so much. So I'm glad you found the right place for it. But when I was in high school, my boyfriend and I would meet in this little town in Pennsylvania called Hummelstown at night. And we'd grab like ice cream and we'd just walk up and down Main Street so I could drool over all the Victorian houses. It was so Pleasantville. Like if you know that kind of town, right? You probably have that town up near you.
That's so wholesome. That's such a wholesome date for a high school.
Well, we wanted to be doing other things, but
Obviously, right,
we could
yeah.
not. We didn't want to get slammed with an indecent exposure thing in our
Okay.
records.
Right.
So I included a few photos for you just to see, but just Google Hummelstown in Google Maps and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Okay.
There were 2 houses, I believe, on this particular strip that always caught my eye, especially at night, because these are Victorian, beautiful, like gingerbread houses. But sometimes, like all the windows at night would be lit up by the little singular candles. And then other times there was just like one solitary light in the tower stairway. It just took over my imagination at the time, right? Leave it to architecture to be my muse. So take a look at these houses. There's one, the first one has a tower and this really cool porch.
Oh, wow.
That one I remember specifically, it had the light on at the very top and no other lights on.
Yeah.
And then the next one on the left side of the house, there also is like this top balcony that was lit up sometimes. I just thought they were so beautiful. And there's a third one just so you can get an idea of what the street looked like.
Right.
So do you have any thoughts on these houses before I keep gushing?
They kind of remind me of like a smaller scale, like the Owens mansion, like the white kind of Victorian, but they're like micro Victorian houses.
Yeah,
Like they're cute. They're really,
totally.
really cute. And I just want to mention real quick the crackling thing. I didn't even know like this was like a song or an idea like that had another name or had another backstory before the practical magic. This is the first time I'm even hearing about crackling. I had no idea about that whole story. I thought it was like you wrote it for like a practical magic because like you messaged me and you were like, hey, let's write some practical magic music, and I'm like, yeah, cool. But I had no idea like this song particularly you had like a whole other like inspiration for. That's really, I'm blown away that it was like a thing before it was a
Oh, that'll
thing.
be fun.
Yeah.
Well, the story, but the practical magic story and this inspiration kind of overlap in my mind. I'll tell you why. So, like on these nights when we'd go walking at night, I was always imagining a girl who lived in one of these homes, like me, but who was able to sense spirits who roamed the streets and like the back alleys at night.
Mm.
And there was something about alleyways in a neighborhood like this that always intrigued me. And I didn't have this in my town at the time. This is like the next town over. But just wandering around Town, I always romanticized this a lot. Just a whole host of unseen specters crisscrossing paths through garden gates, parts of our private worlds, like our private property lines was the narrative I needed to write down. In the story in my head, some nights, this character in my mind was feeling brave and she'd leave like a single guiding light on in the tower for the spirits, or she would sit by an open window on the ground floor with the lights off and like the curtains open and just wait to catch a glimpse of one of these spirits that might pass. And you might know that I'm also a big Nico Case fan, and she has a kind of a shorty song called At Last. And there's a line, I think it's actually the last chunk of lines. It says, "And if death should smell my breathing, as it pass beneath my window, let it lead me trembling, trembling. I own every bell that tolls me." And I just thought, I love the similarity in the song to the story that was in my mind, as well as the repetition when she says trembling, trembling, which we used with a different word in our song. And I had never added something like that to any of my songs I had written. So I sat down with the narrative. So originally Blood Oaths lines, they're very similar with the depiction of this little small town. So the lines go, lightning crashes somewhere in the distance. Picket fences and gables pierce the air. Her specter passes somewhere beneath my window, down the back lane in a haze of fireflies. Lean out, just a little farther now. That's the only way to see her moving. Crackling, 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 past sentinel telephone lines. So that's where I plugged in, this is your day. This is your day, the time to break away. How do you say that you need her? I think I was trying to mold this into more Blood Oath stuff.
Right.
And then the last few lines are, sometimes she catches me watching her pass through the weepy drapes. I can't even read my writing. Through the weepy drapes, something my face, touching my face. She's never the same, changing, shifting through each garden gate. Lean out, just a little farther now. Can you hear her call your name? Those were the original lines, the original song.
And that was crackling.
That was crackling.
Okay.
And then we changed it to the lines we have now, the lines that you just heard, that she passes somewhere beneath my window, down the back lane in a haze of fireflies. I don't think you changed anything about the lean out. You changed the cadence, but not really the words.
Yeah, I didn't change the words, but I did change the position of those lyrics in the song. I think I took that out of the verse and then put it in the bridge as like a build. Like I used that as like a kind of way to build that like crescendo of the song. So I think that was the only thing I changed. The melody, I think I even kept kind of the same, but you're right. Like I think I only changed like the cadence because you had lean out, and I think mine was like lean out.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think that was the only thing that I changed. But my question for you is that when you sent me that initial track, was that still crackling, or was that at that point starting to shift, like you started to change things to be Blood Oath?
I wanted to change them to be Blood Oath because I didn't feel like I was in that headspace anymore of like that childlike innocence. And I really liked the feel of the song, but it wasn't going to be used for any purpose. And I wanted to give it a purpose.
Right.
And Blood Oath was it.
That's so fascinating to me how like it started as a completely different thing and then we were able to somehow morph it into what it eventually became and fit it into that practical magic world.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
so
I think
strange.
it fits. It just still has its tie with like a little bit of supernatural Victorian architecture, small town.
Yeah.
Right? So I love where it ended up.
Yeah, and even those initial lines, not the exact lines, because you have lightning crashes somewhere in the distance, picket fences, and the rest of that. But then in this next little picture you included here, this one says Blood Oath. So now at this point, I guess you started shifting some of the lyrics to what we wanted to fit into the practical magic storyline.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you have her specter passes somewhere beneath my window, down the back lane in a haze of fireflies. I loved that. So I think I kept that, and I think we changed specter to her shadow because now we're speaking about Gillian. We're not really speaking about a ghost at this point. So I think we changed specter to her shadow in reference to Gillian. But somewhere beneath my window, down the back lane in a haze of fireflies. I just loved that imagery. So I was like,
I know. Don't you want to be there?
keeping that. Yeah. So then the next part, lean out just a little further now. That's the only way to see her. This is her day to break away. How do you tell her that you need her? So that entire section, I think I just bumped over to the bridge, but I don't think I changed much of that chunk.
It worked.
Yeah.
I'm so glad it worked. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah. So I think I continued that storyline, like her specter passes somewhere beneath my window, down the back lane in a haze of fireflies. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, what happened after that? Like, we continue that scene in the movie of like seeing Gillian's shadow go down that bluestone path. I'm like, what is next?
Yeah, Sally is left on her own. What is she feeling? What is she sensing? What is she smelling?
Right. So I wanted to continue painting that picture. So I continued with the world is sleeping, but she's more awake than ever, talking about Sally. Oh, actually, no, talking about Gillian. She's more awake than ever because like she's, getting out of there. And then referencing Sally and I'm here grieving, he throws her his pocket knife. And then
Crusty Rusty.
the crusty rusty pocket knife, right? So then the pre-chorus, I think that was another thing. Like yours didn't have a pre-chorus, so I kind of wanted to add that transitional section to bring that verse storyline into that larger chorus.
Totally.
So I added, give me your hand, she motions to me. The sting won't last, she promises me. A cut into my flesh, you were my very first best friend.
That line gets me.
Yeah. And then that pre-chorus ends with, our hands we clasp together. And then that ascends into that bigger chorus. So the next thing, so talking about the chorus, it doesn't say it on either one of these lyric sheets that you have attached here in Crackling or Blood Oath, but you referenced pennies somewhere. I don't know if you sent me another lyric sheet at some point, but you referenced pennies. So I was like, oh, that's cool. And we'll talk about it in like a minute when we talk about our text messages, because I made a comment about the pennies and I was like, oh, I don't get it. And I was like, oh, duh, it's about blood. Like I wasn't even like registering like what you were talking about.
I don't think that was ever written down because we were just corresponding. You were coming up with stuff and I probably said it just in passing. I was probably at work or some shit. So it might have been lost in our text, but I never wrote it down in a notebook or anything.
Okay, yeah. So the chorus is, the night smells just like pennies now. My blood, your blood. It's only us forever. I bet we even die on the same day, she says to reassure me. Why do you have to go? This is our blood oath. So I kind of just wanted to like paint like a broader picture, like the whole theme of that entire scene was that exchange between them and that promise that Gillian makes to Sally. And I love that visual, like, what do you call it when you can picture what a scent smells like? Is there
Moxibustion.
That's not moxibustion.
Synesthesia.
But that's when you like see colors, right?
I think it's any crisscross of your senses that people can taste color or see words, you know, and different smells. Or like, this word smells like this.
Okay. So like I was kind of getting that, like, is visceral the right word? I don't know. I was like getting that like very sharp sense of like what the air smelled like in that moment of like the pennies and like that, like, you know, when you cut yourself and you smell that iron in your blood. Like
I think almost everybody knows that smell.
Yeah.
Or associates that smell with blood.
And I thought that was such an interesting way to put it. Like being able to experience those senses without necessarily talking about blood.
Yeah, I think we talk about it a little more, but you have some texts that I did not save. Do you want to go into those really quick?
All right, yeah. So I have text messages from you from February 18th, 2022. So the month that we started working on this. You text me, hey yo, I tried adding a song clip to the untitled one being Blood Oath, right? It eventually became Blood Oath, but it wasn't untitled when you initially put it in that Google Doc. Say, I'm still working on the lyrics, but that's the tune. And I say, oh yay, I'll check it out. And you say, I will try to find a way of alluding to the fact that they're sisters and not lovers, lol. And I said, I might have asked this yesterday. I don't remember, but is the Untitled one the one about the Blood Oath? And you said, yes. Unless you have one started for that, then throw mine out. And I said, no, I didn't. I just wanted to know what direction this song was going to go so we can come up with a relevant hook. I like where this is going. And you said, send help, LOL. And I said, I'll try to connect some dots wherever you have some words or melody missing. Just keep uploading lyrics, melodies, any ideas you have at all. They're all amazing. I love your lyrics. Don't get discouraged. Songwriting is challenging, and the best way to exercise that muscle is to keep writing. So then I had a question about this part where you say, the sting won't last. The night smells like pennies now. And I asked, is this part a pre-chorus? And I said, man, I wish I had a guitar right now. I'm at work, bored as shit. I want to write more.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And you said, I wrote that down before I had music. It doesn't fit just yet, but I didn't want to forget it. And I said, okay, cool. At first I didn't get the pennies reference, but then I'm like, oh, duh, blood. And you said, wahahaha, if it's too vague, we can use something else. Did that boy ever get his pocket knife back? I wonder. And I said, I think it will make more sense when lyrics are added around it to give it more context. Which it did, because I used your line, the night smells just like pennies now, and then elaborated with the my blood, your blood. So going back to like what the pennies were referring to, oh, the blood oath, the exchange of their blood. So it made sense once put into context.
Yeah, I obviously didn't want to forget. I was like, I'm just gonna throw that out there. It's a
Right.
sensory thing. It's a visceral thing. I really like that description. But like you said, we already had like a lot of blood within our song so much already. Even though Sally has like a robe on, Gillian's in nothing.
Yeah.
I was always imagining like a balmy night when Gillian sneaks out, and humidity, in my experience, always holds scent so strongly.
Right.
And I know for many of us, scent is imprinted into so many memories that this one for Sally is intertwined with, like, you could say, such loss. And I think the scent of blood would definitely stand out to her.
Yeah, and they say that scent is like one of your five senses that is most connected to memory. Like when you get like a whiff of something that just takes you back to your childhood, like it's so crazy how scent can just take you right back to a place in time. So
Exactly.
I could see how like that humidity, that humid night, holding on to that scent of their blood when they cut their palms and clasp them together, like that would probably just get ingrained into Sally's mind.
And sometimes if you're in a place and you get that hit of scent, sometimes you're like, what is that? Where do I know that from? And then you can't place it all the time.
Right.
But it's connected somehow.
Right. And so then at that point, that text, after that, we started talking about Baby Believe Me. So I just wanted to acknowledge that even though this was one of the very first demos you had sent me, which did get our initial inspiration juices going as a collaborative effort, I didn't start on this song right away. By the time I finally got around to revising your initial ideas for this song, I was already working on like 4 other songs like simultaneously.
Blowing up with inspiration.
Yeah, but this all happened within the span of like 2 days. On February 17th, I had started ideas for Hey Jimmy, Man Under the Roses, and The Day That I Died. That's our Michael song. On February 18th, I had started ideas for One Green Eye, One Blue, and then I started working on this one, The Blood Oath, that same day as well. So within like a span of like 2 days, how many songs is that I like had going at the same time? It was like...
That's a lot.
It was intense. And like I said, I've never written at that volume probably ever in like my 20 plus years of songwriting. Like I was just boom, 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 inspiration after inspiration. And I have to say, like your Roses idea and this one, it just like jump started that inspiration.
Awesome. Yeah, that's, can't believe 2 years?
2, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Okay.
Crazy, right? Time just went whoo. So on February 18th, I started working on Blood Oath to get the creative juices going on this song. I do have a demo from this day of me singing a bridge, like a bridge idea, a cappella, just like without a guitar, just kind of like messing around with things. So this is my bridge a cappella idea. Give me your hand, she motions to me. The sting won't last, she promises me. I bet we've been dying the same day. Why do you have to go away? So I don't even think I ended up using that as a bridge. I have, in my notes, I have it labeled as a bridge idea, but that sounds like more like the pre-chorus to me. And then I don't even think I ended up ending it that way. So just an idea, just to get it down. Like you said, like sometimes you just want to get something down, even though you're not sure where to use it or where it's going to fit in or how it's going to end up turning out in the song.
It definitely transformed. It has the bones of some of what we ended up with.
Yeah.
And just little inflections are different. The ending of some of the lines is a little different, but the main view and the descriptors are all there still.
Right. I think the beginning part of it, the give me your hand, that part is how I ended up starting the pre-choruses.
Yes.
Yeah. And then the end of it, let me listen to that again. She promises me.
That one you have a different promises me.
Yeah, the promises me is at the toward the end of the pre-chorus. And then I bet we even die on the same day. I ended up not holding it out like that.
And we even die on the same day.
And then that line I ended up putting in the chorus because that's the end of the chorus. So it's weird how like I spit the idea out. I labeled it a bridge because I thought it was going to be the bridge, but I ended up splitting ideas apart, putting some in the pre-chorus and putting some in the bridge, it seems, or some in the end of the chorus, it seems.
That's
So-
songwriting, kid.
Right. Exactly. I can't explain it. It does what it wants to do, and we are just the vehicle, right? And how it arrives to its destination.
Yes.
But as far as like the muses and how they come through and how you channel them, it's really a mystery to me. Like I still don't quite understand it. So that was demo 1, my bridge idea that wasn't really a bridge.
Okay.
So after that idea, I jumped over to Baby Believe Me and started working on that pretty extensively for like the remainder of February 18th and 19th. After that, on February 19th, I decided to revisit Blood Oath, and I have 3 different demos from this day.
Wow.
One is a chorus idea, just the chorus, I guess. And then one is a verse, pre-chorus, and chorus. And then the last one, I guess, is the bridge and the solo and the end of the song kind of idea. So I'll play you the demo number 2, which is my chorus idea, which was what I came up with first. Chorus.
The night smells just like pennies now. My blood, your blood, it's only us forever. I bet we even die on the same day. She says to reassure me, why do you have to go? This is our blood oath.
So it seemed like the chorus at that point was a pretty solid idea, and I guess I was still feeling it out. You heard me stumble on like a couple words, or like the inflections of how I sing it wasn't quite there yet, but I was like feeling it out. But I feel like that's pretty much the chorus, like pretty much almost how it ended up. So
Yeah.
it was a pretty solid idea. So I was like, okay, I think I'm going to keep going with that. So then verse, pre-chorus, chorus is the next demo. So let's listen to that, and then I'll kind of tell you like what I guess my thought process was. So this is demo number 3, verse, pre-chorus 1, and chorus 1.
Her shadow passes somewhere beneath my window, down the back lane. In a haze of fireflies, the world is sleeping, but she's more awake than ever, and I'm here grieving. He throws her his pocket knife. Give me your hand. She motions to me. The sting won't last. She promises me I'll cut into my flesh. You are my very first best friend. Our hands are clasped together. This night smells just like pennies now. My blood, your blood, it's only
So I don't think I changed the chord structure at all as far as like what you had going in the verse. I kind of liked that ping-ponging back and forth between the G and the E minor, and I love the sound of the E minor because minor chords, they have such like that like bittersweet kind of sad sound to them. So I thought that was important for this song to have that sadness kind of come through with the chords that we were using.
Absolutely.
I did change the chorus chords, I believe, as well as the words and the overall feel.
Yeah.
But obviously, you're like your verse words and what you had going there, I really liked that, like as it was. So I tried to keep most of that. And then I only like really elaborated on that pre-chorus.
Yes.
And then that chorus just to heighten things. And I think we'll talk about this in a minute after the next like little bit of text messages. But I think the only other thing I changed was the speed, like the tempo of the song. And I'll explain why in a little bit. But the last demo that I have for this is demo number 4, the bridge, solo, and coda idea, which is like the end chunk of like the finale of a song.
Okay, I was gonna ask, what's a coda?
Yeah, it's like an outro of a song, like a song. Sometimes codas are like standalone. Sometimes they sound different from the rest of a song. Not all the time.
Like Layla?
Yeah.
Totally different song at the end.
That's like its own like interlude. That's like, yeah, it's like a different song by the end of the song.
Yeah.
But yeah. So this is that last demo. I don't think I really demoed this one much. I don't even have a demo for verse 2 or pre-chorus 2. So I guess I just wrote it and then I just stored it away until I was ready to record the entire demo. So I'll play you this demo 4 that I have here. Blood Oath Bridge, A minor. Lean out, just a little further now. That's the only way to see her. This is her day to break away. How do you tell her that you need her? Guitar solo. This is a blood oath. Yeah, so the entire song at that point was done being written as far as melody for each section, lyrics for each section, everything except that second verse and pre-chorus. But at that point, all I had to do was pretty much write the words. The melody was already there. The structure was already there. I just had to pop in those words. I guess that's why I didn't do a demo for a verse 2. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know why there's a demo missing for verse pre-chorus 2. But the next demo I have after that is just the entire song from start to finish. So I do have more text messages from February 19th, 2022, and this was at around 11:52 a.m.
I have a quick question. This one came together pretty quickly.
I would say so, yeah. I think in the span of like I think I started working on it February, what did I say? 17th or 18th, and then by like, March 18th, at that point I had recorded the entire full demo. So that was about a month later. So I don't know like when I wrote verse 2, pre-chorus 2.
You were working on like 6 other songs at the same time though as well.
Right, so it's hard to say like exactly when I finished Blood Oath, but the final demo that I have recorded was March 18th, and that's about a month later. So could have taken me a couple weeks to that month.
To a month.
That second pre-chorus. I don't think it took me that long, but I don't have a log of when I added that second verse pre-chorus. So on February 19th, 2022 at 11:52 a.m., I texted you and I said, do you mind if I change the tempo of Blood Oath? And you said, not at all. And I said, okay, cool. I have a super emotional pop ballad going on here. It makes me so sad for Sally. And you sent me back a smiley face.
It was probably working. I'm like, that's great.
And I said, I'm keeping most of your lyrics, I'm just changing the feel of it all. And then around 12:29 p.m., so like noon,
You must have sent me the idea in a voice message or something.
yeah, I think I sent you the idea of how like I slowed it down a little bit, and you're like, dude, awesome job on Blood Oath, I love it. And I was like, oh, you listened to it already? I literally just added it. So you must
I was looking out.
You were stalking that Google Doc. And then we started talking about other random shit, and then Baby Believe Me, because I think we were working on that one simultaneously. So once I was finally able to sit with your initial demo idea, I started getting some ideas about where the song needed to go. And your initial demo felt very upbeat, and the tempo was a bit faster, which to me, upon listening to that, I felt there was a bit of a disconnect, especially with the lyrical subject matter. Like, this is such a sad song, and you had beautifully painted the lyrical picture of Sally watching Gillian leave and dealing with those feelings of abandonment all over again, like she did when her parents died. And I felt like the music needed to match that. So I felt like it needed to be slowed down as far as the tempo goes and the strumming a little bit. And it did give it a little bit more of a ballad feel. And I think that was the only thing for me that was like really off about the demo you sent me, and the only thing that I really felt like needed to be changed. And I feel like it gave it a little more emotional impact.
Yeah, definitely a no-brainer and like a super great decision changing that tempo, because Crackling was almost like a childlike wonder kind of song. Like a little bit of the unknown, not an emotional conversation between two people. And it's mostly Sally having a conversation with herself.
Right.
But we've all been there when it feels like your head and your heart are not connecting. And that's exactly what that internal turmoil Sally is experiencing here. And it's Sally wanting to say all the things to her sister she just couldn't say. So slowing it down, I think, is also like, we wish those thoughts in our own head when we're fighting with ourselves would just slow down a little bit and make a little more sense. And adding that to this song is beautiful. It just took it to a beautiful place.
Yeah, I feel like the slowing down of it when she belts that, like, I'm just like picturing Sally singing this, or like this is like her conversation with herself, like you said. That chorus, it's so like all the this night smells just like penny. It's almost kind of like a yearning, like, you know,
Yes.
like a yearning, like she just wants her sister to stay there with her forever. And you know, obviously Jillian can't do that right now. She's got to explore life for herself. I mean, even though they're so connected by that blood oath now, because Jillian was like, no, I promise you I'm coming back. Even though they're so connected now, they still have to kind of explore or like have their own life experience, or their own human experience.
They're going to become their own people.
Exactly. Yeah, so I just thought it needed to feel more like a yearning. So that's the only thing that I felt like really needed to be changed as far as like what you had sent me. And it's even more interesting now because like I didn't even know until today about Crackling, and that it was a song before it was this song. So that's fascinating to me, and that makes so much sense that it was more of like that like child's sense of wonder, and it makes sense that, you know, it would be a little more of a like little ditty.
Little ditty.
Yeah.
A little more upbeat.
A little more upbeat, right?
I think it still has the essence of what I was experiencing as that very emotional teenager, or, you know, going into college kind of feel. Everything's like you're just longing to have a different life, you know, at that age. And you're just, I was daydreaming all the time about escaping.
Same.
So, yeah.
For sure. I remember being in art school, and looking back, it was the best school experience like I could have ever had at that age. Because my parents didn't pressure me to they didn't pressure me to go to college. They were like, you need to do something that you love, but like you don't have to like go to like an academic college and like, you know, graduate with honors or have all these different degrees or whatever. But I had to have some kind of college experience. And I did go to art school, and looking back, it was a wonderful experience. I loved art school, but I remember being in that place and time and being miserable for what? Yeah. I should have just enjoyed being in college, being a kid, and having those experiences for somebody of that age. But like looking back, I was like, wow, I was so miserable in art school. Like looking back, like I should have just been like, shut up and just enjoy the ride.
Same thing. Like the time of my life where I could freaking eat ice cream and walk around at night in a safe little neighborhood with my boyfriend.
Yeah.
And at the time, like I was so up in my head about I could be anywhere else right now, you know, and I wasn't enjoying the moment. And I'm so glad that found a spot in this song.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about it more later on, but this is a special song.
It is a special song. Was there anything else that we... Okay, so there are no other demos. So by March 18th, 2022, I have recorded a full demoed version of the song to my phone notes, and that's the final demo that I have. So rather than play you the demo, we can do a little live performance here. Get your tissues out, everybody.
Okay, I'm ready.
One's a tearjerker. Let's tune this baby. I have not touched my guitar since the studio, so...
Since the Bostons. Still got the Boston flavor.
Boston juju on this.
The Boston juices.
Yeah, the Boston juices. Alright, so another thing that stood out to me was you had on one of those lyric sheets that it was capo 3, but I have capo 1 here, so I guess I brought it down.
Okay.
I guess vocally maybe it was too high with the notes that I added in like the choruses and the bridge. Yes. Her shadow passes somewhere beneath my window, down the back lane, in the haze of fireflies. The world is sleeping, but she's more awake than ever, and I'm here grieving. He throws her his pocket knife. Give me your hand, she motions to me. The sting won't last, she promises me a cut into my flesh. You were my very first best friend. Our hands we clasped together. The night smells just like pennies now. My blood, your blood, it's only us forever. I bet we even die on the same day. She says to reassure me, why do you have to go? This is our blood oath. At the railing, standing in my bathrobe, and she holds me. I have a hard time letting go. The aunts are sleeping, but I'm more awake than ever, and I see her waving, disappear into the night. I hold my hand, can she feel it bleed? The sting grows fast, but not as fast as my root. I cut into my flesh, she was my very first best friend. Our hands we clasped together. This night smells just like pennies now.
This is a blood oath.
Beautiful. So beautiful.
Yeah. So I guess we never talked about the second verse and I guess the lyrics and stuff. So I guess we'll just like quickly go through that.
Sure.
But all right. So the first verse, we have her shadow passes somewhere beneath my window, kind of like setting up the scene and stuff. And then the end of that verse 1 is like when she gets thrown the pocket knife, Gillian gets thrown the pocket knife. Then that pre-chorus, give me your hand. That's like the whole, like, they're doing the whole blood oath thing. So then verse 2, I guess it's kind of like the aftermath of that blood oath and the thoughts going through Sally's mind. So at the railing, standing in my bathrobe, that iconic like blue fluffy bathrobe,
Right, with the flowers.
yeah, and she holds me, I have a hard time letting go. So like the thoughts going through like Sally, like I don't want to let my sister leave, right? The aunts are sleeping because like we always like wonder like where the hell are the aunts during this whole thing, right?
Absolutely. What the fuck?
Do they not know that Jillian's like running away? Like
She
what?
is making the most noise getting out of that balcony.
I know, and she's loud as shit, like running down the path, right?
Laughing, cackling.
Yeah, like I guess they must be heavy sleepers. I don't know,
It's a big house.
because they ain't coming out. Like Jillian, where are you going? Right?
My thought is both of them in the window watching all this go down, just like we have to let her do this.
Letting it happen.
Yeah.
But in the song, they're sleeping.
Yes.
That's what they're doing in the song. The aunts are sleeping, but. And this is from Sally's perspective. She's saying, but I'm more awake than ever. I see her waving, talking about Gillian, disappear into the night. And then the pre-chorus, the aftermath of that blood oath, the pre-chorus is, I hold my hand. Can she feel it bleed? Like talking about Gillian, since they're now connected. Well, they're already connected by blood, but now that they did that pact, and like, you know, in the movie, how they can both feel each other's scars and like they know they're thinking of each other miles away.
Right.
Can she already feel it bleed, right?
Right.
So I hold my hand. Can she feel it bleed? The sting grows fast, but not as fast as my grief, because obviously she's sad. She's grieving that her sister's leaving. A cut into my flesh. She was my very first best friend. Our hands we clasped together. So
It's
that's
so simple.
yeah, that's the second verse and pre-chorus. And we talk about the bridge. Oh yeah, so then the bridge was kind of like what you had going, I guess in the chorus of the first idea you sent me,
Yeah,
where you
the
say
lean out.
lean out, just a little farther now. That's the only way to see her. This is her day to break away. And then I think I added this last line. How do you tell her that you need her? I don't remember. Did you have that line? Or?
I think I had something similar. How do you tell her that you need her? I had written that on mine, but it doesn't matter.
I thought it was a beautiful way to heighten the song and kind of like wrap the whole thing up. Because like usually the bridge is like you kind of want to summarize the whole song and I guess its message in like one little chunk that sounds different than the rest of the song. But I thought that was a perfect bridge because it sounded different than, you know, the verse and the pre-choruses and the choruses. But it was like that nice little addition, like what her actions, like she's got to lean out to see her. And then that last line is, this is her day to break away. How do you tell her that you need her? So like that internal dialogue, like what Sally is thinking, like she knows her sister needs to break away and she's giving her that space. But how do you tell her that you need her? But she's still like kind of clinging on for dear life, like of her sister's love and attention, because she knows once she leaves, she's going to be there all alone. You know?
Exactly. And in the first and second verse, it's almost as Jillian's already left and she's thinking about them cutting. Because the first verse is her shadow passes somewhere beneath my window, and the second one is against the railing. So she's already by herself and maybe thinking of things like, oh, maybe I could have said this or I could have said this, but I can't say those things. She has to go do this.
Right. She totally understands why Gillian needs to do this, but she's selfishly like, you know, we all have that selfish quality, like, especially when it comes to the people that we love.
Absolutely.
Like, you want to be selfish, but it takes somebody who really loves you to be able to, like, let you go. And I think of this whenever I think of, like, when my brother went away to college, like, my mom was like, go after your dreams, do what you want. And the same thing when I went out to LA, like, the same thing is, like, she, you know, she understands that we need to live our lives, too. And the same thing when me and Avi started our relationship. Like, we had just started dating, and I was like, I'm going to LA.
Right.
And he was like, you're not going to get this opportunity again. And, like, you know, we are just starting a relationship. Like, selfishly, I don't want you to go. Like, I want to be with you, but, like, I understand why you need to. So
It's temporary.
Right.
Jillian knew it was temporary. Yeah. Sally wasn't getting that just yet. Because she's very, what do we say? She's a Virgo, but I feel like she's got Scorpio in her as well. She was just feeling it very deep and very selfishly at the time, but she loves her sister. And Jillian was like, nah, bitch, I'll be back.
I'll be back. We're gonna die on the same day.
I'm gonna wreck this town. I'm gonna paint it red.
And she did. She came back and she had a whole shitstorm follow her.
Yeah, totally.
There's a whole other can of worms they had to deal with. But I think it takes a really, like, a person who's strong with themselves to be able to let somebody go that they love so much and trust that they're gonna come back.
And the fact that, okay, this is like getting personal, but the fact that Sally didn't throw it in her face when she got back, like, you're the one who chose to leave. You know what I mean? She never did that, which was kind of my experience in the past. We could talk about shortly. I think that says a lot about their relationship.
It's beautiful.
And the aunts didn't do that either. They welcomed her. They were like, oh, they were so excited she was back.
Like I said, I think it takes being that type of person that's that secure, that can let somebody go and just trust that they're going to come back. Because everybody has their own lives. Everybody has their own timeline and things that they need to do. And like, yeah, the aunts never were like, oh, she'll learn her lesson. Like, maybe she'll learn her lesson. I don't know. But we all need to learn our lessons our own way. Our elders sometimes try to warn us about, oh, you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't do that, because when I was your age, I did that and I got fucked over. Like, I think it takes a strong person to let people have their own life experiences and not jump in and try to warn people of something. Like, it's okay to be like, hey, I see some red flags here, but maybe not overstep to the point where you're trying to cause a rift between that person and the lesson they need to learn. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, you know?
Oh, no, I'm there. I know what you're saying.
I have this friend, right? So I'm not even really close with her. We've hung out a few times. I would call us acquaintances, but we're not really close. Like, we just get together every now and then to do art together. And a few years back, like when we started hanging out, she was dating this guy and we were hanging out at her place one night and, you know, we were making art and her guy at the time came over and he just gave me really bad vibes. He just, like, you know, not really good vibes. So I left, and I'm the type of person where, like, if I feel that bad energy, I don't really want to be around it. So
yeah, you're going to remove yourself.
I distanced myself from her and I didn't really, you know, reach out to her. Like, I think she maybe reached out to me a couple times. I invited her over here to do art, and like she came over and we made art here and that was cool, and she was still with that guy at that time, I believe. But then I guess that whole situation ended badly. I kind of like saw it from a distance, and I kind of like saw the posts that she was putting on social media, and like I was like, I kind of had a feeling that was going to happen that way, but I didn't say anything because it wasn't my place. Like, I'm not even close with the girl, right? So recently when we hung out, like a couple months ago, we went out to a bar and we just had a couple drinks and caught up, and she was talking about that guy. She knows now, like, he was no good for me. I should have seen all the signs. And I was like, can I be honest? Like, I kind of felt that way. Like, when...
Honey, we've all been there.
Yeah. And I was honest with her about it. I was like, he kind of gave me bad vibes. And then she kind of got, like, annoyed with me. She's like, why didn't you say anything? Why didn't you tell me?
It wouldn't have made a difference.
That's what I said to her. I was like, girl...
You're going to do what you wanted to do. It was the same story with my first marriage. He was a wonderful person. We weren't wonderful for each other. And my family and friends, knowing me through my whole life, saw that. And after the divorce, a handful of them were like, yeah, we weren't gonna say anything, but this and this and this. I was like, I appreciate that. I'm glad I was able to figure it out before kids were involved, before anything big transpired.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. It wouldn't have changed my opinion. So yeah, your point of the story is like, it wouldn't have changed.
So you agree that I wasn't the asshole in the situation?
No.
Letting her make her own mistake and letting her learn her own lesson?
I think it would have caused a bigger rift between friends and family if they would have come to me while I was in that relationship, because I would have sided with the person I'm about to marry.
Right. Yeah. And she got so, like, annoyed at me that I didn't say anything. She's like, why wouldn't you have told me that? And I was like, well, because, like, you were in it and you would have only seen what you wanted to see, and anything I would have said wouldn't have made a difference, because first of all, we're not even close. Like, I wouldn't even call her like a ride or die. Like, you know, like, it's not even like that. Like, we get together and make art together, and it's kind of like this, I don't want to say surface level friendship, because, like, I do feel some kind of, like, creative connection with her, but, like, there's
small doses friendship.
There's something kind of, like, holding me back there. Okay. And I don't know what it is, but I definitely was, like, taken aback. I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean?
I'm the bad guy? Am I the drama? I've also been am I the drama?
Yeah.
I've also been in your shoes where I have told somebody about their significant other and it didn't go well. It makes you feel better for being able to be on the outside and see what they're not seeing, and you want the best for them.
Yeah.
But in the end, they're going to make their own choices.
Exactly. It never goes well. You always see your friends dating some douchewads. And I used to say things, but then again, like it used to be with like close friends. So I felt like I could say something because I
Sure.
was so close to them. But this girl, I was like, I've hung out with her maybe like I could count on one hand how many times I've hung out with her in person. And I was
I
like,
don't know you like that.
this is not my place.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna back up. Like
I
Homer, the
understand.
Homer Simpson animated GIF, like when he's backing into the bushes, like
Yes.
it was like that
Yep.
type of deal. I was like, I'm
Mhm.
just gonna back right on out of this situation. And then, but I was like, wow, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't say anything, but I didn't feel like I should have. I don't
You
know.
see, yeah, this person seems like they're fine now. Like,
Yeah, they're fine. They made their mistake. They learned their lesson. They didn't need me to teach them that lesson. So
no,
it is what it is.
it is what it is.
But anyway, that's the song. And so some additional thoughts, I guess. So one thing that I want to acknowledge is that this song was actually very close to making it into the batch of the 4 songs that we went back to Plaid Dog to record this past week. It was one of the contenders we were actually considering. And when we went into pre-production with our producer Mike in February, we had like 3 solid choices. We knew we wanted to do Brownies for Breakfast, One Green Eye, One Blue, and All Hallows Eve. Like, no questions asked. However, we still needed a 4th. You and I had gone back and forth and had many disagreements and arguments about what our 4th should be, and we finally narrowed it down to a choice between this song, Blood Oath, and Phone Tree Day. And then Phone Tree Day eventually ended up being our final choice because we already had 2 ballads on the album, One Green Eye, One Blue, and All Hallows Eve. And we wanted to keep, I guess, the majority of the EP a little more upbeat. And I think a 3rd ballad on the album would just kind of make it drag a little bit, you know? Kind of want to keep the energy up. So we were thinking of making Blood Oath more upbeat just to have it on the album, but then that would have defeated the purpose of the song. Like, it hits so hard because of its ballad-like quality, and it emulates the emotions that Sally is feeling in that moment that her sister leaves her in the night. And I know we'll give this song its moment to shine when the time is right. It's a beautiful song, and I think we both wanted it to feel the way we had intended when we wrote it, and not have it produced differently just for the sake of fitting it onto the album.
Yeah, absolutely. We were sitting down with Mike. It was down to the wire. We were on the call because you gave him both songs and we asked for his opinion.
Right.
And he was basically like, okay, what's it gonna be? And he did suggest, okay, what if we sped it up a little bit? And I wanted so much to tell this poignant part of the story on our first EP, but not at the expense of changing how it hits you in the feels and speeding it back up to kind of what Crackling was initially, was like going backwards in our process
Right.
and the progress we were making. And I think where Blood Oath sat in both our hearts. So I'm glad of our choice. It was perfect. Phone Tree Day was so fun.
It was fun.
Yeah. This song, as you know, Justina's tired of hearing the story, makes me tear up to this day. I was holding it together while she was playing it this time. I can't say enough good things about this song. It just sits very near and dear to my heart as someone who was in Gillian's position. And I hurt more than one person by choosing to break out into my own life and into my own experiences, where you should not be made to feel guilty about living your one life, you know, if this is your one life. So it does bring up those old wounds. It opens those back up sometimes. And I feel like I was probably about Gillian's age, like 23-ish, when I left to go to California. I left my hometown. Everybody else stayed. It's also a reminder of the love that was there and the connections that I did have at the time. I had to have that choice to not live in regret. That was really hard, and it took a lot of therapy. It's still taking a lot, especially with this song in my life of like,
Yeah.
it's a good practice of gratitude of where I am. But this song said so many things that I was never able to hear for myself. This is her day and her day to break away. I know there were people in my corner, but nobody was saying these things to me. And I've had so many awesome adventures since, and I've traveled the country, I got married, I got divorced, I found love again. And I sadly even lost that one sisterly connection along the way. And it hurts, and it sucks, it's life.
Yeah.
And it's bittersweet to see where I am now and what Jess and I have cultivated through these last few years. And all because of that one decision, like to tie those bed sheets together, lift one leg over that railing, and just disappear into the night.
Yeah.
And that brought me here. And you've been so supportive in that storyline of having to let some people go.
Yeah.
It's so hard. But I appreciate you being the one to be like, no, this is you. Get the fuck out of here. You're going to do this thing. We're going to do it together. But
Yeah.
go, right?
Yeah. Yeah. absolutely. And I did feel like when you sent me all of these like ideas and fragments, like they were fragments, like when you sent me things, like, and they were like really good chunks of ideas. And I saw a lot of potential. And I don't know if you considered yourself a songwriter before all of this or it was just a hobby. The fact that you reached out to me and you saw that I could be an important part to help you bring this all together was really meaningful and special to me. And I was really flattered that you even asked me to be a part of it.
Oh, shit. Oh my gosh.
Stop it. Stop. Ew.
I knew you loved practical magic and you just had this crazy talent and the sound, and you had been doing it for how long beforehand? I was like, people had said you guys should work together. I was like, maybe this is the thing we're supposed to be doing, and I'm glad it is.
It's crazy how that worked out the way that it worked out, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I agree. It's crazy that this song was pretty much, I think Roses was the first idea that you had sent me, but
And that one's not even like on a cut of anything.
No.
It was the catalyst idea, has a little voice note somewhere,
yeah.
and that's it. But it snowballed everything else.
Yeah, you sent me Roses first and then you sent me this one. And then I was like, okay. I kind of saw like your like where your mind was as far as like the sound that you wanted to go for.
Sure.
And then I was like, okay, I think I could help you
Navigate. Yeah.
yeah, and now I've kind of like steer the ship and kind of like where we needed to go and like the different kinds of songs that we needed to write and the stories that we wanted to give new life to Alice's story through music because I don't think
Absolutely.
we've heard this story in a musical sense.
No, and all I can think of now is when I hear these songs, the stage production of the actors and the lighting and the sets and all that, but also we were in Boston just hearing how All Hallows Eve turned out. And some of our other songs that we've done Song-i-Sodes on, like One Green Eye, One Blue, we knew was like doo-woppy, but I didn't know it was going to go that far, but specifically All Hallows Eve. I thought the album was going to be like folk alt rock. All these songs are so different,
Yeah.
but they all go together perfectly, and I think that's going to add such cool variety to a possible future project. It gives a lot of flavor.
It does. And I also love how it also kind of teeters on the edge of it could be country if it wanted to be.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
So I
All
love
that slide guitar. We're like, is that our sound?
it might be our sound.
Acrostic?
Yeah. So it's just interesting, like writing these songs as like an acoustic little duo and just like ping ponging ideas back and forth acoustically and watching it all come to life in a studio and kind of shaping our sound. We're not a band, right? Like we don't have a band on a regular, like we're not touring musicians. Like this is just a studio project, but it's interesting to see our sound kind of taking shape. you know?
Absolutely. And when somebody says, did you compose this? In my mind, I'm like, well, we had Daniel and we had Mike, but technically,
We did compose it. We wrote the word progressions, we wrote the lyrics, we wrote the melodies. We basically just hired musicians to come in and put their little mark on it, which all beautiful stuff. But in essence, like we're the ones who wrote the meat of it.
exactly. That's a first for me.
Beautiful. And it's
Well done, Jess. Well done, Kristina.
a wild process, let me just say.
I can't wait to recap Boston. I don't know when we're going to
I
do
know.
that, but we'll get there.
It's surreal watching a seed of an idea turn into a studio production.
Somebody asked me if this was like what we were planning on doing with it initially. And I know we talked on here before that no, it was kind of like a selfish thing that I had asked you. It was something I wanted.
Yeah.
It was probably my therapist. I was like, no, Justina's fire is what pushed this into what it is. I'm just I am the idea person.
Yeah.
And I'm cool with that. But I appreciate your tenacity. Your big old D.
My big old D, my Deluluism. Because weren't we just talking about J-Lo or something?
Yeah.
You have to be a certain level of delusional to believe something can go from like that tiny little spark of an idea to this huge product. Like you have to be a little delusional to believe it can get to that level. So
I just know we both love music. It just touches something else in you. This story needed it.
I guess we are both a little bit delusional. Maybe it'll get even bigger. Who knows? But if we could wear that Delulu badge proudly, by
This
all
would be the project to pin it on.
exactly, because I'm so proud of like everything we've done so far. It's amazing.
Me too. I'm so happy.
Yeah.
Well, thank you
Yeah.
for doing this. I love this song. And I guess we'll see what EP it ends up on.
Yeah, maybe the next one, maybe the one after that. But we have so many more songs. It's crazy.
I can't wait to. Okay, so like now that we're back from Boston, we can get back into our normal podcast thing, but I want to get back to some of these like almost done songs and
Right.
tweak and get them all finished.
Yeah,
It's
we do
so
have a
exciting.
couple floater songs that we kind of got to put that finishing, I guess that stamp of it's done.
Mhm.
We can put it in the box considerations to be recorded in the next one.
And if our long-term goal is to bring this stage-wise, there's other scenes, other
Right.
instances that a song could be added to. It's kind of limitless right now.
And it's like kind of hard to not keep writing. Like every now and then I still feel that little spark of inspiration like, "Oh, we never touched on this scene in the movie." And like
No, now's when we can do that, I think.
yeah. I mean, it's just a endless well of inspiration at this point. Like there's so many other little things that we could write about if we wanted to. And I just like love that. It could be a never-ending project if we wanted it to be.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm so happy.
So I mean, we'll see where it goes, but yeah, I guess that's all we have for this song. This one was pretty short and sweet, not too many demos. This one came together relatively quickly.
I think because we both have maybe been in that position.
Yeah.
It was just something, like I know Jimmy's was kind of hard to come at from a narcissistic point of view. Some of them are harder than others, but this one was very personal.
Yeah.
It felt like.
Yeah, it felt very natural to tie the loose ends together of like all the stuff that you had sent me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So R.I.P. Cracklin, happy birthday, Blood Oath.
R.I.P. Cracklin. And I have to say, this was the first song and the first time that I had ever taken somebody else's like initial idea and kind of
Really?
like try to finish it.
Wow.
So that was a first for me.
You
So
did great.
I was like, I really kind of want to take on this challenge. I've never done this before, and then let's just see where it goes. And it was pure magic. So
You're so good at it. Look at you.
I'm gonna leave it at that. Pure magic.
Pure magic.
Practical magic.
Hashtag Magnolia Street.
So if you guys have any thoughts or anything you guys want to send to us, you can reach out to us at magnoliastreetpodcast@gmail.com. Hit us up on Instagram at Magnolia Street Podcast. We're on the TikTok. We are on Patreon. If you guys do want to support our musical endeavors, you can head over to patreon.com/Magnolia Street Podcast, and we'll let you know all about the different tiers that you could support us on and get a little goodies in return. If you guys do want to support the podcast on Patreon, you can support us for as little as $1 a month. That's our seedling tier, and that gets you access to our patron-only polls where you get to weigh in on what topics you would like us to talk about next. It also gets you our monthly calendar so you can see what topics we have coming up for the month, and it also gets you a welcome shout out on the show. Our $3 Lavender Bud tier gets you our show notes for each episode in an aesthetically pleasing PDF, our after hours posts, if there's any extra tidbits or behind the scenes info pertaining to any of our episodes, we'll post those along with a blog post or extra photos, and access to our specially curated Spotify playlists. We have created playlists for our WMSR episodes as well as Production Dream playlists for each Song-i-Sode and more. Our $5 Lilac tier gets you access to our private Facebook community where we host a monthly live stream. Plus, you'll get access to our Discord server where we host our monthly watch parties. And also on the Discord, you can join in on the discussion with other Magnolia Street neighbors via the various interesting channels and threads. And then here's the $8 Rose tier. This gets you access to extra audio-visual content such as a once-a-month full-length video episode, unlimited bonus videos, uncut footage, cutting room floor footage, bloopers, outtakes, meditations, exclusive interviews, and old home videos from the vault, or spell or ritual videos, and more. It also gets you bonus content to coincide with our Song-i-Sodes, such as full-length demo streams of our original Practical Magic inspired music, plus lyric sheets, guitar chords, and original scratch demos, or bonus video performances of our songs and more. Lastly, we have our $15 Wisteria Vine tier. Just like a twisting Wisteria Vine, there's a way for you to stay connected with us, the Stinas. In this tier, we invite you to join our private Marco Polo video messaging app. The app is totally free for both Android and iOS. Sign up with your phone number or email, and we will help you do the rest. This is a great way to chat with each other in a more intimate group setting, face-to-face via video recording. We love to show each other our pets, our gardens, or anything else you'd like to share. And just a reminder that the higher the tier you sign up under, the more rewards you get, because you get all of the rewards of the tiers below it. You can upgrade or downgrade or even cancel at any time. So to support the podcast, head to patreon.com/Magnolia Street Podcast.
Yeah, and there are additional ways to support us and our podcast that don't cost you any money. If you do listen on Spotify, please give us a star rating. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, please give us a written review. We love sharing those on our Instagram. And if you're on Instagram, we would really appreciate any reposts or blurbs about our podcast. And make sure to tag us at Magnolia Street Podcast in your feed, posts, stories, and share us with your Practical Magic love and friends. We got merch over on our Teespring. Head over there. And when you are on the Patreon, look at that $8 tier because that's where all the music is going to be locked away for our $8 patrons and all the additional behind the scenes, lyric sheets, all that good stuff that we mentioned in the beginning.
And if you guys were one of our very generous donors for our crowdfunding campaign, we are going to be sending out all of our rewards pretty soon, so keep a look out for that. We got to edit together all of our studio content and our digital booklet and get all that stuff going, so we still got work to do.
I know. That's my plan today. Finish editing and scan all of those pages. I was taking hardcore meeting minutes during our production process. So I'll scan all those in, so we'll have them for our Boston recap episode.
Okay.
And for the digital booklet for those sponsors.
Yeah, because Kristina was like jotting away while I was like in the vocal booth or I was like recording guitar or whatever. Like I just saw her like jotting away. I don't even know what's in half those pages. So I'm very excited to recap all of that.
I was just writing down all the vocabulary words for music production that I could throw out later to make me sound like I know what the fuck I'm talking about. There's some good gems in there. I want to do that when we hang up. So we'll talk about when we can recap that.
All right. Cool.
But in advance, thank you to Mike Davidson for the production of our first EP and Daniel on guitar, bass, and we'll say this all again, guitar, bass, and keys, and Russ for his killer drums. Thank you.
And what was our fiddle? We haven't done our fiddle. At the time of recording this, we still have not recorded the fiddle to All Hallows Eve yet, but we are going to be doing a remote session.
Ava is our fiddle player, and Colin did the bass on the very first single. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
We're signing off.
All right, guys, we'll see you in the next one. I don't know what the next one's going to be.
We don't either. Tune in every Friday for new episodes.
Yeah.
I'm Kristina.
I'm Justina. We'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time.
At the house on Magnolia Street, would you go down to Magnolia Street where the wisteria grow wild? At the house of magic and mystery, so would you go down to Magnolia Street?
Dude, I'm still like gushing that Mike said brownies for breakfast sounded like a hit song.
Shit.
Do you remember when he said that?
It's a good song. Yes, I do.